So welcome everybody. Last time slot of the day, right? They planned this correctly. So first of all, welcome to Austin, everybody. My name is Mark Hasell. I head up partnerships and integrations for Dealerware, so really excited to have you all here. We contemplated rolling with this session as a quick song and dance, but fortunately for you, we pivoted. So no, these are not my backup dancers here. We've got an esteemed panel here to talk a little bit about their experiences with partnerships and how to leverage tools like APIs to steward successful partnerships throughout the ecosystem. So joining me, we've got Michaela Stalnaker, who heads up Content Strategy for Dealerware, Vivek, who is one of the co-founders and head of product for Motorq, who we partner with on the telematics front, and then also Kyle, who heads up special projects for retail strategy at Holman Auto as well. So we're working with him on an integration too. So appreciate y'all being here, and thanks to everybody else once again for joining. So I think just to kick it off and kind of get our gears turning a little bit, I just wanted to kind of ask you all your view of partnerships and how your organizations view integrations in general.
I think for Dealerware, the key is rethinking about how we connect and unlocking transformative solutions that allow us to do more with more data. So we can build an unlimited amount of tools with APIs and the partnerships that we can access, right? So this allows us to provide better operational efficiency, better end-to-end fleet management, do more with payment workflows. So for us, it's more about being the glue that kind of brings the automotive retail technology, OEM, and dealer groups together.
First, I'll give everyone a really quick overview about what Motorq does, and that'll help set the context for the partnership discussion. We're a connected car data and analytics software platform, and we make it easy for enterprises across different use cases to access vehicle data and insights from a unified interface, right? And so if you think about us as essentially a two-sided, essentially a middleware platform. One side, we have data that comes from connected vehicles, OEM embedded, as well as aftermarket devices. And then the other side, okay, better, thank you. On the other side, we have customers, right, that are leveraging data through technical interfaces, APIs, streaming platforms, to be able to power their applications and workflows. So that's the summary. In terms of how we view partnerships, really, for us, there's two sides, right? There's on the OEM side, partnerships are critical, really, essentially critical to our success. And on the customer side, of course, we view all of our customers as partners, right? It's much more than a pure kind of vendor relationship, right? Any new customer that comes on or any new OEM that comes on, it's a win-win-win, right? Because it essentially strengthens the value of that network, right? Another customer means more essentially opportunities for an OEM. Another OEM means more vehicles that can be natively connected through the platform for our customers. And the way we approach partnerships is it's essentially two-way, like any other partnership. We learn about the use cases from our customers. We share those to the OEMs. On the flip side, we of course are providing that single interface, helping both our customers and the OEMs know here's some latest trends about here's what data is available, here's what the needs are of the market, and here's some recommendations in terms of how you can ingest the data to be efficient and efficiently ingest that and provide that within your interface.
So from the perspective of a dealer group, you saw in the last presentation, there's a ton of different systems that get used in a dealer group, and it's extremely fragmented, and fragmented systems also means fragmented data. So for us, integrations are table stakes. Pretty much now, if we're onboarding a new vendor as opposed to building something in-house, because that's something else we do, in addition to the business group that is supporting it, so like fixed operations director would be sitting in on a Dealerware call, we'll also be on that call to ensure that there's an API available or a flat file we can get or some sort of data sharing mechanism, because at least we need an API available for reporting analytics, and then if there's something more real time, then to use in some of the other applications we build. So for us, not having an integration is almost a stop in the vendor research process.
Yeah, and I think we've talked a lot today about APIs and what they actually are and some use cases and how they function. And I think, Vivek, you even kind of touched on it just a minute ago when you described Motorq in general, but would love to hear just more broadly how we all feel about APIs and even just from an operational lens, what you have to do to really steward good partnerships and integrations.
Well, when I think about APIs, it boils down to its data, right? Data is the new oil. Information is power. We've heard that so much that it's almost a buzz phrase, right? But it's true. Information and data became the most sought after commodity, the most expensive commodity in the world a few years ago. And so if we're able to access that data through the APIs, we can build better tools, inject more innovative solutions, digitally transform our space. So thinking about like what it means to to partner with someone, I want to know if they are as dedicated towards that, as committed towards that technology as we are. Do they adopt the same type of customer success? The commitment to the ongoing technology, that's very important.
Yeah, so APIs are essentially the programmatic ways for machines to talk to each other, right? And whether it's exchanging data or actually triggering actions, APIs can help with that. Obviously, APIs are critical to our platform and how our customers ingest the information or actually take action on cars. Hey, I want to lock a car, right? You can execute that via APIs. From an operational perspective, if we think about our customers and how they think about product development, so I'd say that's part of operations of the business. APIs enable you to essentially break down this massive product into modular microservices, so to speak, right? And so what you can do with that is really focus on developing best-in-class functionality for that module. And then allows for the input-outputs to be essentially extracted from that module. And then what you can do then is actually make a decision, hey, one, you can innovate more quickly when you've got smaller pieces. So that's one of the benefits. Two, you can think about, hey, is this a service that we want to build? Is this a service that makes sense to actually find a partner to provide, right? And that allows you to have that framework of essentially build that product very modularly. It's a more scalable and quicker way to develop your product.
So operationally, I'll just touch a little bit on what we do, because obviously we do all our integrations in-house. So one part is getting the data from the source, right? So if there's a vendor, then there's a part of getting the data from that source, and there's different ways that we have to do that, which I touched on. Could be an API, could be that we're running programmatically at a set interval, right? So you have to write a custom program. It could be a file ingestion via, FTP, which is file transfer. It could be getting something in via email, whichever way, right? Because different companies have different levels of sophistication. And there's that. And then from there, we need someone to manage a database, a data warehouse, to have all these different systems coming into one place where, right, because you could have, 20, 30, however many different systems, pull them all together. Then we have one place where we can then use that data internally in different products or reporting mechanisms to surface it, relate it, and tell a comprehensive and cohesive story. And then we need people subject matter experts to do stuff with the data, interpret it, right? Whether it's a developer integrating it to an existing software product or an analyst using it in a report. And similar to talking with other vendors, then yeah, the other side of the stick is dedication to that vendor on the other side of it, because we're doing something that is critical for our operations, right? Like think about integrating, loaner and repair order data. So like that loaner coordinator, if something is down with an integration on any side of the track or telematics information, then they're not able to do their job. So it's important for us that there's going to be a commitment on the other end that we're going to keep getting that data, because as you'd imagine, actually yesterday when I was on the plane over here, vendor, we didn't get data that day, and it was like the whole world blew up, and we had to go figure it out. So there's an operational perspective between us and the vendor as well.
And I think considering, a lot of folks in the audience here may be considering the same thing of different partnership integrations, productizing their own APIs. I would love to hear, just some of the criteria that you all look at when you decide on who to partner with. So we've talked about the functional and operational piece of it, but what do you look for in partners that decide, hey, yeah, this is going to be a really great thing for us to invest in? And then also thinking about kind of the other flip side of that in a world of competing priorities. How do you counter that with possibly the same resources going towards internal tooling for other things versus looking at partners?
Well, I'd say you have to have good documentation. I call that job security. But also you have to have good customer success teams. The data also has to be flexible, right? We can build custom products all day long, but APIs allow us to do more for the market by layering Dealerware data, in this case, under DMS tools, websites and applications. We can take a branded experience using our data to elevate customer experiences, increase operational efficiency, and it just does more for the market, being able to access the APIs that way.
Yeah, so there's two sides here, right? The OEM side. So I'll focus on that, right? Because I think there's the OEM side, which I'll say there's really not much choice, right? So we can't get the data from Ford from anyone else. But the prioritization point is relevant here, right? And yes, of course, we'd love to get every OEM on yesterday, right? But there are some considerations around prioritization there. So the first, of course, is are they technically capable, right? And so while many of the OEMs have released interfaces for connected car data, not all of them have. Although I'd say in the next 2 to 3 years, that'll be, everyone with meaningful volume will do that. The second is what's the overlap between what our customers need in terms of the makes, right, and the models, as well as what volume can be provided by the OEM. So we got a request from one of our customers is, hey, look, do you have a connection to Bentley? I said, well, yeah, it doesn't quite satisfy the volume criteria, right? So that's the second one. And of course, the third is strategic value. So let's say somebody's ready, but there's not a lot of value, but they're a cool sounding EV player, right? And so maybe that allows us to get insights, partner early with that OEM to be able to get that data to the market.
So for us, it really starts at the product level first, because for us, we're always making a decision of, do we create this product internally or do we get a vendor for it? So speaking of OEMs, so an easy example is, I'll do a plug for Dealerware, is loaner contract software, right? There's a massive haul to get an OEM approved, right? And there's a large investment there, right? So this is just cost benefit analysis, right? So understanding what does it take to get this product off the ground, and that's barriers like that, that's resources, do you need it now, do you need it in a year from now? All these different things, right, we'll go into, are we gonna use a vendor for this or not? So it starts with the software, because, right, it's gotta make sense for the people that are actually using the software, not just people like me that are doing stuff with the data that the software generates. Try to be cognizant of that as much as we can. So is the software viable? Is it good software? Does it do what it needs to do to satisfy business functions? That's first and foremost. And then from there, I guess we're picky, and then we say, okay, well, we also want really good data on top of that. And yeah, we kind of do both of those things in parallel. And some of the questions we ask, because I think then gets a good perspective if there's other dealer groups in here. I talked about types of ways that data gets sent, but then what data are you going to provide us, right? So like telematics, right? You're just giving me latitude and longitude, mileage and battery and fuel, like you're giving me those, or you're also giving me like trouble codes that the car is shooting off, or do you have like accident detection? Like there's so many levels of things that you can get from these different systems. So like what is available to us, and then like I said, the frequency.
Yeah, that's great. And I think as a lot of you have seen today, obviously our obsession with our customers and their experience really transcends our organization. Something I think I'm particularly proud of focusing on partnerships is you have teams where you've got incredible designers and a human insights team going out and learning what customers want out of a product, And then I'm coming along on the partnership side and saying, oh no, but how about we integrate this into another ecosystem? Sometimes it can be counter. And so I'm really lucky with folks like Matt and Melissa on the team that really value us meeting the customer where they need to be met. And so part of that is success around us productizing our own APIs, but I would love to hear from you all, and I probably just stole part of the answer here, but just where you all have seen successes in specific APIs and that development, and kind of where you see success maybe for other folks in the room too, and when they think about productizing their APIs.
I'll start, because I have a lot of thoughts on that. We have had, we try to integrate everything that any data point, any software that we use. We've had a ton of success with integrating loaner data and integrating that end to end to go from the second the loaner is punching a service to when it's sold to a customer. So that includes everything that's financial. So how much do we acquire from the new car department from or buy from the manufacturer for? What are its operating expenses like depreciation, fuel, tolls, the whole shebang. We look at, okay, what did we give it to used car department for? How much did we sell it to the customer for? What type of incentives did we get? And then we look at everything. How many agreements did that car go on? And then matching that up with repair order data. So how much repair order revenue did that car gross? How many customers went in it? And then kind of getting a full life cycle picture of that unit from the end, so you know exactly what it costs to punch something into service. But actually, what we found was that how much can you make by putting that unit into service, and that's contentious now because the data says hey, give us all your new cars, but obviously the new car managers don't want to give us their new cars right now because it's sold before it goes to the lot. And then so that's more of the life cycle side, and then just pairing up loaner data via integrations with repair order, then we are able to segment our length of loan into different measurements and look into and better narrow down problems that are happening, and by reducing length of loan, being able to save millions of dollars in loaner expense. So integrating data has been instrumental in us operating better as a dealer group.
Yeah, I'll go. So when API is essentially our product, right? And there's other tech interfaces, like there's streaming platforms. So think of like a fire hose of data. APIs, you have to ask for information and then you get it. Where if somebody says, hey, look, I just want, hey, give me data for this car, right? We just send it to them when it comes in, right? And so those are the types of interfaces we have. For us, our customer really is the developer, right? That's integrating against our tech interfaces. And so there are, of course, standard best practices around developing APIs and productizing them that we follow. But since it's a very dynamic environment, so every couple of months there's a new parameter that becomes available from an OEM that's interesting to the market, there's demand for it. Or we develop new events. An event, think of a geofence event or a speeding event or an idling event, right? These, we run some source agnostic analytics on the data and generate these events. Well, we need to have a flexible structure, right? So it doesn't matter, so a customer is integrating against our APIs or streams. We should be able to add parameters without breaking the integration. We should be able to add events without breaking the integration. So we've developed a structure that's flexible. So flexibility is critical for us as we developed, productized our APIs. In fact, we're on a third iteration of the API. So our first was, hey, we had a big customer, we built it based on their specs, right? The second one we improved, but it wasn't that flexible and not super scalable. The third is, it's stood the test of time for the last 2.5 years, and expect it's probably got many more years of life within it because it is very flexible. The other thing that's critical, of course, is documentation, right? And certainly Max got a lot of expertise there, but just really spending time on building out as clear documentation as possible. And what we do is we try to get feedback when we're talking to our customers. Hey, look, is the documentation working? And if there's feedback that says, hey, look, this wasn't totally clear, we really take that to heart to improve the documentation to make it easy for our developers at our customers to integrate against our APIs.
And I think one test of the documentation too is if the onboarding is smooth or not, and whether you have the technical experts behind in your customer success teams to be able to answer the questions that come through. Do you have documentation that speaks to both conceptual and procedural users, right? I'd say probably everyone in here is a conceptual user. You're making decisions on whether to partner with other organizations. After that decision is made, you pass it off, and your teams on the back end, they work their magic. They make the API calls, they build the software, right? You need documentation and developer portals that speak to both sets of audiences. So that's why one thing I'm really proud of our Dealerware API portal is that we've customized that so that you can go and find that information no matter who you are.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we are all family now. Y'all are indoctrinated into the Dealerware family. So I want everybody leave their shyness at the door now, and I want to encourage you to ask any questions. So if you scan the QR code behind us there, we'll take the questions and be able to get a little bit closer here. But so I think now in that same vein, if you all want to share anything that you're just particularly proud of, any successes, I hope everybody signed a waiver. I don't know if they signed an NDA, but if you have anything you can share in the future as well, and any future thinking stuff that you're able to share with this audience, we'd love to just hear from you. So shameless plugs away, let's go.
Oh, I can shameless plug all day long. Like I've mentioned, I'm very proud of the Dealerware API portal. When I was brought onto Dealerware 2 years ago, that was the ask. You know, we need an API portal. We need API documentation, and I love that. I could talk about that all day and as many languages as you want in my sleep. But our teams really came together from marketing to customer success to architecture and design. Everyone put in a lot of efforts on this, and it was not a one-man show or a one-woman show at all. Like Mark undersells himself a lot, but he was instrumental in the production of that as well. And I'm just so proud of what we've done with it, but I know we're not done. I want to take it from undergrad to postdoctorate. I want to add videos, communities, forums of support, API recommendation engines, credentialing for more data to be accessed, different gating. All of that is going to be able to help us foster relationships within automotive retail technology, OEMs, dealer groups. So I'm very excited about that. I know I have the confidence in our team that we're going to be able to do that, and we're going to be able to do it quickly, and we're going to be able to do it well.
Yeah, for us, if we thinking about the OEM side first, we feel really fortunate and proud of the relationships we've built with all of the OEMs, right? So really tight relationships where we're oftentimes speaking with them multiple times a week on both the business side as well as on the product and technical side. Actually with one of the OEMs, this is public information, so don't worry about signing the NDA here. So we work closely with General Motors, for example. And so one of the things that we talked to them about a few years back is that, hey, look, fleets, and I think Thomas had spoken about this earlier, fleets want to know where their cars are when they order them, right, before they're actually delivered to the customer. And think about the larger fleets that are ordering thousands or tens of thousands of vehicles a year. Believe it or not, those cars essentially go into kind of an abyss, so to speak, right? Until they show up and the customer's like, hey, basically the customer's calling, hey, where's my car, right? And they don't have the pizza tracker, so to speak. And GM, we provided this feedback to GM, and GM certainly got feedback from others as well. And they released a new feature where once the car is assembled, leaves the factory, that OnStar modem turns on, right? And you can actually ping it for location in some other fields, even when it's on a rail, right, or on a flatbed. And so you can get kind of that trip path, develop an ETA, and tell the fleet company, hey, look, your car is going to arrive at the dealer at this time. And why does that help them? It reduces a lot of the manual work of tracking down the vehicle. They actually get time to cash is quicker, right? Instead of the car sitting at the dealer for some time, right? They say, hey, look, the car's there. They can have the conversation with the dealer to pick up the vehicle. So that's an example of a partnership that's we're really proud of. And on the flip side, GM is coming out with cool data services that, and this is more of a fleet context, but in-vehicle coaching. So if you're driving in an aggressive manner, the car will tell you, hey, you're not wearing your seatbelt, or you're speeding, right? And you shouldn't be. And that's really cool. Besides beeps, some of the aftermarket devices provide beeps when you do that, but this is actually audible English language notifications, which really actually, they're so annoying, they really drive a change in driver behavior. And you can't just unplug the device, right? So it's built into the car. On the customer side, we have traditionally worked more with fleets, right? And as you all know, telematics, quote unquote, has been around for decades, right, now in fleet. And so it's kind of been there, done that. Obviously, connected car and OEM data is really exciting for them. Really excited about starting to serve more in the dealer space, right, and the partnership with Dealerware to learn about what those new use cases are for vehicle data. It's certainly newer, right, the use of vehicle data in dealer workflows and applications. So excited to partner and make vehicle data more useful in this new use case.
My last time I spoke, I talked a lot about successes, so I'll talk maybe more about how we want to take those successes and talk about how we'll use that to do other projects. So we talked about like the loaner life cycle, so end-to-end, the entire picture of what it's gone through. What's cool is that mentality or that modality of looking at a part of our business like that. By doing that, we're now looking at other parts of our business in that same way. So one example is time to line, and which is more important now more than ever with used cars being whatever composition of car sales it is at a dealership. So not just looking at time to line, but saying, okay, taking time to line and what does that mean for sales, right? And using that information to look at how many cars can we sell, how much are we grossing on those cars, what's our depreciation expense, what's our inventory day supply like, where should we be acquiring from, do we need different consumer acquisition strategy, so a lot of different things. So it's the same concept where we're looking at that loaner car while it was in service, and then when it got sold, and the same thing, we're looking at this used car when it was in service in a different way, and when are we selling it. And that's just one example where we'll try to take that mentality to a lot of our reporting analytics. And then probably a gap that I'm excited about that enables us through real programmatic APIs as opposed to just file feeds is not just using that data for reporting analytics, but using that data to automate workflows. And that's really excited about that. I don't really know what's going to happen yet, but that's kind of something we're going to look into is how can we use APIs to not just pull data, but to insert data to make systems talk to each other without having like limiting customer input, employee input and things like that. So that's something we're definitely going to look into more in the future. So.
Awesome. So looks like we got one question coming through here, so I can only assume maybe the QR code busted in the last couple of seconds there, or you all are ready to partner, one of the two. But one of the questions we have here is, how do dealerships determine what integrations are necessary for operations versus nice to have? And so really interesting perspective there, and I think, and I can take this, but happy to have anybody else jump in as well. And I think for us, we, due to our customer session, build these because of responses from dealerships. So we have so much conviction in the value of what we're pushing out on the integrations front. We also don't monetize them today either, so it's sort of like, why wouldn't you try a lot of these integrations? I don't know where this question came from, but there's a lot of costs associated with some of these integrations. And I think that that's part of deciding on who your vendors are, to be really honest. I think that we should all be trying to meet you where you are and provide valuable integrations that benefit us all, whether it's monetized or not. So I know that maybe is kind of a roundabout answer for what the question is. And if anybody has that question still or anything to add on to it, I'm happy to elaborate on it a little bit. But for us, it's just one more way for us to provide that value directly to our customers.
I'll just go from a dealer group perspective. I mean, yeah, in my opinion, everything. Like there should, the only reason that we wouldn't integrate with something is because we don't have the resources to do it, or the company or the vendor doesn't have the technical capability to do it. Otherwise, we're constantly looking for ways to do it. So then with that, then you just ask yourself prioritization. And that's the hard part of, okay, what do I need to do most? So to that, so really, what probably there was existing integrations before this, but loaner was such a big point of integration for us because it was such a pain point for the business. So I wasn't the one that made that decision, but I know that's how the decision was made. So I would probably encourage you to do the same thing of what are your biggest pain points and how can you make it better with technology? Because that's where all it really comes down to, right? Technology and analytics is just supposed to solve a pain point for the business with a real, tangible, bottom line value. So that's how we approached it. We said, holy crap, we have all this money and loaner expense. We need to get a handle on this. Gentleman earlier talked about that at Sonic and what he does. So and that's why we decided to integrate. So and then just down the line, okay, what's our next biggest pain point? Okay, cool. Let's integrate there and solve a problem.
Yeah, and I think also for us, just like subscribing to any software, there should be some expectation of it evolving over time, and it's no different with integrations too. So I think that that's something, when you're talking to other vendors out there that provide integrations, there should be an expectation that we're going to test and learn and iterate over time with that too. So there's always sort of that first toe in the pond and how we're going to actually get some menial integration off the ground to then go out and learn, because it's just two ambiguous systems operating next to each other. But I would say that should be another deciding factor too, is there should be an expectation there that whatever vendor you're working with is going to constantly iterate on this and use your feedback to make it better, which is part of why we value so many of the partners we have that are willing to try things with us, but also give us candid feedback on how we can get better as a vendor or partner. And actually, I think we still have time for that song and dance if anybody is ready for that. Well, it's a different pair of shoes, fortunately. But any other questions before we finish this? I know everybody's probably willing to spend another 30 minutes in here listening, or no? We're good? So that's it. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate the partnership so much with all of you.
Thank you.